I'm going to show you how to contour your face, and this is perfect for beginners. But even if you do have a bit of experience, I think you may learn a thing or two. So stay tuned because we're about to get started. When it comes to contouring, you really need to make sure that your skin is prepped perfectly for it. So I already have my skincare on. I'm not gonna give you a whole specific skincare regime for you to use because I feel like you just use whatever your skincare is. You don't have to change anything in terms of your skincare for your contouring. What I would suggest is just to make sure that everything is quite hydrated. Because you are layering and you're gonna be adding a layer of contour, you do wanna make sure that your skin is nicely hydrated, and then we're gonna apply a primer to just kind of almost give us that nice smooth finish to the skin, but also to create that barrier between the skin and the contouring. So I already have my skincare on. The first thing that I'm going to do is apply a primer. I'm going to be using the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Mattifying Primer. I'm just going to get about 2 pumps because it's quite a small amount that comes out with 1 pump. And I'm just going to smooth this over the face. It's like immediately got rid of any shine, which is great. Now, very quickly, before we start with contouring, I just want to explain what it is. Contouring is basically a technique that we use to help create dimension in the face and basically using shadows and light to help kind of enhance certain features and also give the illusion of certain features. So it's really about using a dark color and using a light color. Now, when you use them hand in hand, like if you use one without the other, it's not really going to be as effective as if you were to use both. So it's kind of like a match made in heaven, like dark and light when it comes to contouring. So we're going to be using a light color and a dark color. So just to explain exactly what each one does. A light color helps to basically enhance the surface area, so almost like letting the light bounce off of that light, and it creates a larger surface area, or the illusion of a larger surface area. It enhances areas. And then the dark shade basically helps to create shadow and dimension in the face. And when you use those two things together, it really just helps to complement one another. It just fixes like perfectly together. So we're going to start off with light, and then we're going to move on to the dark, and I want to explain this step by step. This is very easy once you get the hang of it. This whole routine that I'm going to do is a very basic contour routine. It's not a complicated or advanced contour routine. This is like something that more or less any face shape could do. You would probably adjust it slightly depending on your cheekbones or like how defined you already are. But I'm going on the basis that you have a kind of either a round face or, you know, features like mine where there's nothing which is like primarily kind of standing out. Like I don't have crazy like sharp cheekbones or anything, and my jawline is not exactly perfect, like, you know, it could do with some snatching, to be honest. What we're going to be doing is using concealers. You can use contour products if you want to, but honestly I would highly recommend trying it with concealers because I feel that it just gives the most amazing finish, and it also helps to add a little bit of coverage there too. You can use more of a light coverage. You don't have to use the exact ones that I'm going to be using, but for the light concealer I'm going to be using my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. So this is in the shade Ginger, and this is a little bit lighter than my skin tone, so it's not like matching my skin tone. Now first off, what I want to do is just add a little bit of concealer to my eyelids. This is not part of the whole contouring like routine. This is just me trying to kind of like, you know, like just smooth that area, get it covered so it's out of the way, and then we can get started with the rest of the face. So I'm just literally using my beauty blender and that concealer to just kind of like cover up the darkness around my eyes. You want to use a powder and a powder puff just to kind of like set that. You can use a brush if you want. You really don't have to use a powder puff like me. But now that we've got the eyelids out of the way, we can just get started with the actual contour. Okay, first place is the forehead. I'm just going to apply a little bit here. Now remember, when you are doing this yourself, you can apply a lot less than me if you want to, or you could apply more if you feel like you need it because you need extra coverage. Now I am going to go just down the nose. You can leave this area out if you want to. I'm now going to go on the under eye. I'm going to explain to you in a second what all of this is doing. Can you see I'm going quite close to the side of the nose? I'll explain why in a bit, and then we're just going to kind of lift up here. So we're going to go underneath the lower lip from the corner of the mouth and just take this up. As you can see, we've got all of this kind of like laid out, the light color. We've got this section here so that it helps to enhance this area. We've got it down the center of the nose to help lengthen the nose a little bit and also help to slim it once we apply the dark shade. Then we've got it along here, which is the under eye area. I don't go too close to the lower lash line because it can start to look a bit kind of like a mask, but you want to leave a bit of a gap there. And then we're going to take it up here on the sides, and this helps to lift here. Then we've got it on the sides of the lower lip, from the bottom of the lip going upwards towards almost towards the upper ear, and this is going to help to lift. And then we've got the chin here, so this helps to like elongate the whole area because we've got it all the way down there. Now I'm going to apply the dark shade quickly, and this is where you're going a lot darker than your skin tone. So that light shade is a little bit lighter than your skin tone. The dark shade should be, you know, quite significantly darker, otherwise you're not really going to see it, and it's just going to end up kind of looking a bit muddy if it's not the right shade. So what we're going to do here is go along here just a little bit, and then we're going to go here. We're going to create some definition here shortly. So we're going from the top of the ear, almost like just above that line that we created. We're going to go below the jawline, either side. Create that nice V shape, but below the jawline. We're also going to do a little bit on the nose. We're going to do a little V. That's going to help to kind of make the tip of my nose look smaller. And then we're going to go here. On either side of the nose there. Now you can see we've got the whole effect here together. So let me explain. This area here, I've done it because I want to make that whole area look smaller. So it's going to help to kind of like slim down the face a little bit. If you apply it anywhere along the perimeter of the face, along this side, on the sides, it's going to help to just squish it together a bit. If you apply it at the top and below here, it's going to help to do that. So it really depends on your face shape here, that you want to apply it where you feel that where you want to slim the face down or kind of like shorten the face a little bit. Then we've got it here from the top of the ear, and it goes here. Can you see how it's sitting just above that area that we applied the light concealer? That's basically going to help to create some cheekbone there. Then we've got it right below the jawline there, and that's going to help to really just sharpen it. Now we've also got a little V on the tip of the nose, a little really tiny one. That helps to basically make the tip of the nose look smaller, and then we've got it on the sides of the bridge of the nose, and that's going to help to kind of like define the nose and just help to slim down the nose a bit. Now this is where it comes to blending. Now usually I would blend the light areas first before I actually apply the dark shade, but I really wanted you to see everything together here. So you can blend it all together this way that I'm going to do it anyway, but I think you will probably find it easier if you were to blend the light shade and then you were to apply the dark shade and blend that. But again, this might be easier for a lot of you. Now I have two of the same brushes here. I have the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood complexion brush. I always keep one for the light shade and one for the dark shade, just so that we're not mixing the colors together. So I'm going to use the light shade first, and this is where I'm going to buff. I'm basically just pressing like this. I don't want to like kind of like spread it too far. Now when it comes down to the nose area, you want to flip it and use the smaller side. And this is where you can't really buff because it's such a small area. So we're just going to kind of like run it down the nose to smooth it out. That's it. Now we're going to go back to the big area. And this is where we're going to just drag this down a bit, because ultimately what we want is for it to cover that area here, but also if we start buffing, we're going to end up touching that dark area. Just do the same here and here. Now, when it comes to the under eye area, you can do it with a brush if you want, but I prefer doing it with a sponge. So I'm just going to basically keep it in the same area and just buff it. I find it much easier with a sponge, but again, you may find it easier with a brush. It's really about kind of figuring out what works for you. So can you see here, we've kept it all in the same place, and we're taking it in the same direction that we've applied it, but we're just kind of like making sure it's all nicely kind of just buffed in. See that? Now all the light shades that we've applied are kind of buffed in and the edges are nice and diffused. Now this is where we want to go into the other brush, which we're going to be using on the dark areas. Now this is where I want to buff, but I want to buff into the hairline. Reason being is because I don't want to see a gap there, right? It needs to look like it's going into the hairline. See how that's nice and like kind of like buffed out? You can keep a tissue, by the way, to take the excess off onto the tissue so you're not moving this dark shade around everywhere. There you go. Can you see how that's like created a shadow there? Obviously all of this is going to come into full effect shortly, but I really just wanted to kind of like, I want you guys to see it in an obvious way a little bit so you can see how it works. So, okay, now we're going to buff this section here. So this is where it doesn't matter if it looks quite dark here, as long as the edges look nice and kind of like buffed in. I don't want to see any harsh edges. So I'm actually happy with that. We're going to go along and do this side. And then we're going to drag this bit down. This is where you really don't want to buff because otherwise you're going to create a line. What we want to do is create a shadow. We want to create a gradient effect. So we're going to really drag it down into the neck so that even if someone sees your like neck like this, it just looks like a shadow there. It doesn't look like a line. You want to make sure you go beneath the jawline, not over. So make sure that you do drag this down. Now we're going to flip the brush round and we are going to just shade this in. So we're just going to buff this area as well. Make sure it stays looking like a V, but it's just softer. And then here we are going to kind of like drag down to the side of the bridge of the nose because we don't want it to look like two lines. We want it to look like it's a shadow. So this is basically everything buffed in, but obviously it's still quite obvious, right? So what we want to do now is use a kind of light to medium coverage foundation that we're going to put a thin veil of it on top of this. And this is where all of this is going to peek through and it's not going to look so obvious, but it's still going to look sculpted. It's not going to look so flat. And I'm going to add like, all of this has added dimension to my face. So this is why I say, don't worry if it looks really obvious. Right now, you wouldn't go out like this, but this is the perfect amount to be able to see through your foundation. So I'm gonna be using my Anastasia Beverly Hills Luminous Foundation, and my shade is 290C. And I'm gonna put this in the back of my hand, and I'm gonna use my sponge to just drag a bit of it. We don't want a lot of this at all. It's got to literally be a thin, like a really thin layer of foundation. So there's not a lot on this. And now I'm going to start from the forehead. And I'm just going to start buffing it in. Now I just want to add that if you don't want to apply a layer of foundation on top and you just want to do this on top of your foundation, you can do it in exactly the same way, but I just wouldn't apply as much product. I'd apply a lot less than what I've applied because you obviously are going to be putting it on top of foundation, so nothing's going to go over it. So you need to apply a lot less. With this, I can kind of like go all over the face and you're going to see how everything starts to look a bit more diffused but still sculpted. You're still going to see like all this sculpting coming through. And I like to be quite strategic with my kind of application in terms of like I follow, you know, there's a whole method involved. I start from the top and then I work my way down. So I start from the forehead, then I do my under eyes, then I do my nose, then I do the rest of the face. You know, you get used to it, it becomes a habit. So I'm going to go over the nose. Again, not a lot of foundation, like actually hardly any. And you're going to see this is still going to show through, which is great. Okay. Can we just talk about how amazing this whole technique is? Like, look at that. All I've done is put the thinnest amount of foundation on and you can see all this sculpting coming through. And my face looks snatched. Like my jawline is literally lifted to the heavens. My cheekbones are just sky high, like seriously, so chiseled. Everything just looks lifted. All of this sculpting has helped to define, enhance certain areas and just give the illusion of certain things. Like my cheekbones were not this chiseled. My jawline was not this snatched. So I hope this goes to show how amazing contouring can be and how much it can really help. And if you do it in the right way, if you spend your time and just practice a little bit, it's going to become quicker and quicker for you. It's not going to be difficult at all. It's really not that difficult. Once you understand where your features are placed and you like understand where your cheekbones should look a little bit lifted, how your jawline should be chiseled, like all of these things are quite easy to pick up and all it takes is a bit of practice. But please don't forget that this isn't a day today thing. Like, this isn't doing this every day, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you ever do want to contour, this is the way to do it. And this is also a great way for like aspiring makeup artists to kind of like start contouring, maybe if they aren't already. So this is the kind of look that I feel like is great if you want a sculpted, lifted look. It's perfect for like glam evening and everything. You can apply as little or as much powder as you want after. Like, I like to just kind of like dust it on with this because I feel like you don't really need a lot. So I am just going to kind of like dust on just a little bit of powder for you guys to see. So I'm just going to take my Real Techniques brush and I'm just going to like just dust on a bit of powder so you can see what this looks like once it's set. I would personally recommend using a puff and just kind of like pressing it in if you really want it for an evening look and you want this to like last all night. But I just want to very quickly show you how it looks with powder. So that's like a light dusting of powder. And honestly, I can't stress this enough. The only way this is going to work, if you do it the way that I've done it, like the contouring first with concealer and then over with a foundation, is if you use a light to medium coverage foundation. And no matter whether it is a light to medium foundation, like you still need to use the smallest amount, like half a pump or 1 pump at the most. Honestly, I still can't get over how much this like changes the shape of your face. Like, I used to do this on a daily basis. Like, if I ever took pictures, they looked absolutely amazing. Like, honestly, my face does not look this snatched when I do my general makeup, like without contouring. So it really does have a massive effect on like the definition and the sculpting of your face. Like, you just look so much kind of more, you just have more bone structure. Like, your bone structure is just amazing when you contour. So yeah, anyway, I hope this has helped. You can carry on with like bronzer, whatever you want afterwards, but honestly, I feel like all you need is a bit of blush and a bit of mascara and lip balm and you're done with this whole look. So I really do hope this has helped you in understanding contouring, understanding how it works, something that you guys are gonna actually try yourself too. Sending you loads of love wherever you are in the world. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon.